What's up everyone, Snoogs here from Aussie Gamers Express, and today I get the pleasure of welcoming everybody to Project Cars 2. That's right, it's finally here. I've been drooling over this for a while, so let's get stuck into it. As you've heard, Slightly Made Studios has officially kicked off its claim at the title of the best racing sim of this year, with of course Project Cars 2. Building from the success of 2015's initial Project Cars, it looks like Slightly Mad, along with Bandai Namco, have learnt and listened to us, the fans, and are well poised for a shot at being top of the mountain. Is there anywhere you really want to be? Earlier this year, I was extremely lucky and I got to play an early build of Project Cars 2, and had this to say about it on the podcast.
Gran Turismo is going to have a hard mountain to climb, I think, this year.
Oh, that's a fucking massive goal.
Which, as you can hear, was met with a few questions and maybe a little few sniggers along the way. But I tell you what, I still stand by that statement, and now I get to test just how right my theory was from all the way back then. So let's get stuck into it and have a look. Having played countless hours of the original Project Cars, I have to admit, I went in with high hopes and even higher expectations. But thankfully, Project Cars 2 is the best kind of sequel. It has substantially improved on the original to the point where going back's just not an option. Let's start off with one of the coolest features outside of the racing though, the weather and time of day effects. While the original had dynamic weather and the time of day progression, it was nothing like this. In Project Cars 2, as it rains, puddles form on the track before your eyes, and it doesn't start drying out until the sun comes out. Only then does it dissipate slowly as the track starts to warm up. Water will pool in areas where you expect it to be pooling, say like the apex of a corner, and if you hit it, well, you'll be kissing a wall pretty soon, usually, or maybe that's just me. Best part I've had so far though has had to have been with the snow. What more can you ask for than getting a nice thumping Bentley GT3 car, chucking it on Mount Panorama, and then making it snow? Why? Because I could. Not only was it fun, but it was an absolute huge challenge trying to keep the thing straight. I nearly put it in the wall on takeoff. Project Cars 2 is no arcade racer, and you really start to learn that very early on. It is a dedicated sim. If you forget that it's a dedicated sim, it will punish you. Saying that though, there is plenty of playability for those who are not as finely in tune with setting up a car for a racetrack. Previously, you would need to shift through pages upon pages of settings, tyre pressures, brake bias, aerodynamics. While a lot of people don't know what that means, so generally it just would not get used. Now Project Cars introduces you to your race engineer, a virtual engineer that is part of your team, which is there to give you guidance and also help you set up the car. All you have to do, set yourself up with a few practice laps before you do any race, take the car out on the track and give it your all. If you feel like the car's doing anything particular that you don't want it to do, back into the pits you go, bring up your race engineer, and you get shown a whole lot of options on what you want to tweak. Say the car's stopping too quickly when you jump on the brakes, or it's locking up the rear end of the car. Go in and speak to the race engineer, pick the brakes, and tell them that the back end's locking up. So a very simple thing comes up. We need to change your brake bias. And it does it for you. So that way you can work out what it's doing. If you're not hitting the top speed down the straight, they can change the aerodynamics package. If it's not turning in properly, they can change the way that the steering is all set up. This is all done for you with just a couple of little questions to set up the car for your driving style. Project Cars 2 has the biggest track roster of any console game that I've seen, and I believe of anyone that's coming out in the near future. My personal favourite tracks, of course, is Mount Panorama at Bathurst, Monza, Spa, and the almighty Nürburgring. They are all there, and for a few of them, there's a couple of different iterations. There's actually the old Spa course along with the new version of it. But there is also plenty of surprises you have, from a nice little Scottish course weaving through townships that, I must admit, I'm not a fan because I'm terrible at it, to, for those of you that are frequent V8 supercars watching it, Rapana Park in New Zealand now makes an appearance. If you're not so much of a track racer, and you feel like you might have a bit more fun at the sideways dirt cowboys, then of course rally is there for an option. And there's some rallycross stages as well as some even ice tracks. The ice tracks are really something to behold. You really need to get on there and give them a go, even if it's just once. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of different way to drive. Just make sure you pick one of the rally cars. The first time I did it, I did it in Enzo. Again, because I could, and didn't want to. For those of us who are itching to get in the career side of things, then you're in luck. Project Cars 2 has picked up where its predecessor has left off. Career mode gives you complete control over where on the tree you want to start. If you want to go back to basics, again, the carts are available for you to kickstart. Me personally, this time around, being that GT3 is my biggest love in motorsport, I have started off in the GT5 Giannetta Cup, which will eventually allow me to work my way up to the GT3s and have a lot of fun that way. Setting up your career, you can pick the difficulty of your opponents. I've started off with them relatively low and started building up to a bit 50-50. You can pick up not only the speed that they drive at, but how aggressive they are. Of course, with the career mode, the usual stuff is always there that has been in the original. Jump in, pick which team you want to race for, sign the contract, win the races, build up your points, and ultimately win the championship. This time around, the interface is a lot easier to use, and it just feels like it has been a push. The visuals. Wow. Is all you can really say. Visually, Project Cars 2 is absolutely stunning, but it's in the small details where it is. Rain looks like rain should. The sun glare affects your driving, affects your visibility, to the point where I found myself moving around in the seat trying to get a look out of the window, because otherwise I didn't know where I was going. The cars themselves are recreated down to the finest detail, and this is shown off so good in the photo mode. But the real fun comes when you find out the drone camera in photo mode, because not only can you fly it around and take a picture of your car from any angle that you wish, you can take a picture of any car in the field, which is fantastic when further back down in the pack everyone's decided to go into each other and ended up turning around and flipping over. You can always find that you get yourself quite a few good shots. And remember, be sure to share them. Let us see what you've got. But as good as Project Cars 2 looks, it sounds even better. V8s sound like V8s. The weird and wonderful sound made by the Bentley is recreated beautifully to the point where I thought I was sitting beside the track. And of course, the iconic sound of Ferrari is spot on. I found myself on more than one occasion just picking a different car just to see how it sounded, and just doing a few laps and then sitting back and watching the replay and just listening. So let's have a listen, shall we? that's enough from me. All there's really left to do now is to just get out there and race. Project Cars 2 from Slightly Mad Studios and Bandai Namco is available now on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. If you are a racing fan, there's really no other way for me to say this. Go and grab it. Not going to be disappointed. Thank you to everyone who has watched. Please leave us a like if you have enjoyed it. I've been Snoogs from Aussie Gamers Express, and I will see you for the next one.